might be indicative, it should not be taken as a concrete fact. Now, the statistics on inmates are actually fairly easy to get, thanks again to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. And in 2002, they showed that the number of offenders from single mother homes actually dropped from 41 to 39% and went back up in 2016 to 41.1%. Meanwhile, homes with a father represented 40.7% of all offenders. It's almost neck and neck. So while prisons may not be overflowing with offenders from single mother households, it does represent an elevated risk about 2 to 3 times. And since your lifetime incarceration risk is about 5%, what that means is instead of 70% of children raised by single mothers going to jail, actually well over 80% will avoid ever seeing a jail. Okay, but that still means that single moms offer the worst outcomes, right? Well, studies have also looked at incarceration rates for different household types. And they did again find that 3 times risk for single mother households. And you can see that when we adjust for social, educational, and economic disparity, that risk drops to about 2 times. But before single fathers start to crow about this, look what happens when dad gets a new partner. They offer some of the worst outcomes. And when we remove the economic advantage that single fathers often have, you can see that single fathers with a new partner offer the worst outcomes, beating out single mothers with stepfathers, and even children not raised by either parent. So if we really care about childhood outcomes, we need to be teaching men not to ignore their children the minute a new woman shows up. And even if we just want to focus on improving the outcomes for single mother households, then we need to talk about what causes them, which is absentee fathers. Because absentee fathers are a huge problem. Anywhere between 1/5 and 1/4 of all fathers have no contact with any of their children. And this is often framed as, oh, my baby mother or my bee of an ex-wife doesn't let me see the kids. But that's also not true, because when we look only at men with high levels of custody, 40%, almost half of those who start out with weekly contact, virtually abandon their children within 8 years, having little to no contact. And studies have looked into the risk factors for father abandonment, and found that once again, top of the list is fathers who have a new partner. And if they have a child with that new partner, then virtually all of them abandon their previous children. So if we really care about improving childhood outcomes, then we need to stop talking about single mothers and instead talk about the disgusting attitudes and behaviors in fathers that treat their children as disposable.
Welcome back to the Mental Dialogue Talk Show. I'm your host, Montoya Smith, a.k.a. Black Socrates, along with special guest co-host Soul Scribe. This morning's discussion question, what can we do to support single mothers? Our special guest is psychotherapist Shanae Ito. Again, let's put some of these stats to rest as it breaks down perspective-wise that stat that people have been running with for years literally comes from a 35-year-old study. And the data definitely looks very different when you actually start cross-referencing against more current data and actual family makeup. So not only, if I could say this, Sinead, before we go back to Latanya, not only am I, offering that, hey, single mothers don't receive these as such. When I say don't receive it as such, don't even take the stats you just learned to go have a back and forth to prove them wrong. Like, let it go. Because it's not the space. Because what happens is, here's the mistake. People even have good intentions sometimes with sharing the stats. I've shared the stats. I got so thankful for one of my members, and this is why I have the smartest audience in the community club that I have, that came from, shout out to Michelle. She sent me that some weeks ago. I forgot exactly what prompted her to send it to me, but the beauty of it is having an audience that, in a sense, not only wants to get the facts, but I'm also highlighting ultimately that even people using the stats incorrectly, unknowingly, or even if they're accurate with good intentions, there is this concept that we actually think the blame game will lead to better behavior. It is a complete waste of time, and I'm highlighting that even with these, more congruent, more, I would say, comprehensive stats that you just heard, again, it's not a space to go back and forth. It's understand the stats for what they are, and let's culturally help out not only single mothers but the entire culture so that we can improve the culture to negate these stats regardless of whether we like them or not. The stats have a place. They highlight trends, but they are not the end-all, be-all. As much as I love stats, I like to make people clear and understand. I've always understood stats are for trending situations, and you have to look into a lot to even know if a stat is worth putting out publicly. So I've got on my little soapbox with that. Let's go back to LaTanya. Thank you, Queen, for calling in. Give us your 3 cents on this morning's discussion.